But what is more important Sunday? Like, I can't believe we're back here again. I really thought this team would be better, and they had every chance. They screwed around and lost the Indy game, screwed around and lost the Washington game, screwed around and lost the Green Bay game. And instead of being 4-6, they could be 7-3, 6-4. 6-4, you'd be the 6th seed in the NFC.
The tone here would be so different.
But that they have no one to blame. I'm not talking about the players. The organization has no one to blame but themselves because they kept a head coach who's in over his head.
No doubt. But, boy, they compounded that by hiring Waldron. Man.
I was told yesterday, that was an Eberflus call. He did not want a big personality like Cliff Kingsbury.
You had the first pick in the draft. You had this, we think, generational quarterback. And all you had to do, well, not that it's that easy, but pair him. I mean, it was the most important offseason decision. Drafting Caleb Williams turned out to be not that hard, right?
Yeah.
Whatever else they did, probably not that hard. But getting the offensive coordinator, that was the most important decision they had to make, and they got it wrong. They got it wrong in such a bad way.
They did, 100%.
And that's where we are.
Okay, so here's the question. 312-332-3776. Would you rather look really good on Sunday, beat Minnesota, and go, wow, really good? It's not going to matter in the big picture to get to the playoffs. Or
start losing some more.
Yeah. Oh, we got a top 10 pick. Right. Maybe we'll get a great offensive lineman or a great defensive lineman.
This is a yearly, annual question on these airwaves.
Right. And if you look bad enough, but Caleb looks good, guess what? You're one step closer to coach slipping on a banana peel. Out.
Right. So everybody looks bad. He's definitely out.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose. Caleb looks good and you lose and you get a better pick. Or do you just want them to win? Because you're a fan, you want them to win. Here's my answer. Let's get some callers up there. 312-332-3776. Kap, I think it's too early to root for the tank. I think if we're down to the last 3 or 4 games, then sure. Because that's where seeding will be more top of mind. A draft seeding will be top of mind. Right now, let's get some wins. And then if they're neck and neck with some team for the 2nd pick in the draft, 3rd pick in the draft, okay, fine. Last 3 games, tank. I'm going to root for losses. But right now, 7 games left. I can't root for 7 losses. So let's get some wins right now. I may change that in a few weeks. That's my view.
Shay, where are you at?
I mean, I think he's probably done either way in all likelihood, but I'm more worried about the draft position than I am securing wins.
So you're already at 4-6, ready to beg for 7 more losses.
They have the toughest schedule in football. The idea that they're going to win out is flawed, and that's basically what needs to happen if you want to make the playoffs. Like, you can afford one loss the rest of the way. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Of course not.
I'm more interested in securing draft position and seeing Caleb play well in losses than I am going and winning a bunch of games. Because realistically, what are they going to do with 7 games left? 3-4, probably the best we could hope for.
There is something about learning how to win and all that stuff. They can't go 0-7 and think it's just going to, magically turn around next year. I think you got to win a few games here.
I'm not saying I want them to go 0-7. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm interested in seeing how they finish the season. So, yeah, I would like to see what they would do with the new coordinator and just if they can pull off more wins than they did last season.
Yeah, I mean, if they go 0-7 but lose every game 31-28, I don't know. I guess there's something positive there, but it'll be really hard to stomach. So, win a couple here, then if you want to tank a few, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking them to tank games. To finish 8-9 and go, well, we turned it around. Let's keep the coach. That's
not keep the coach. But the problem will be 8-9. You're middle of the pack drafting.
Exactly, and that's where I get concerned because then you miss out on the tackles at the top of the draft that could really help this team.
I agree with you there. That's why I'm saying when we get to the final 3 weeks, we'll be able to, see the draft order a little bit better. And
But isn't some of that overrated? I mean, look at the guys that get drafted in later rounds, and you're like, oh, that guy's a hell of a player.
Yeah, but look at Joe Alt.
Joe Alt's a hell of a player.
yeah, I mean, you want a top 10 pick. I don't disagree. It can be overrated. You can find a gem in the 4th round, but look, we're staring at a non-playoff season. May as well get the higher pick. I just, you can't go 0-6 in the division. That's
If you're going to sit here and tell me that they're going to go 6-1 the rest of the season and make the playoffs, well, then obviously
Well, of
that's what I
course,
want.
right,
I just
but
don't
that's not
see a
gonna
world
happen.
where that's happening.
No, of course not. Of course not.
But they have talent. That's the sad thing.
It's just not coming together this year.
Like
though.
if he gets whacked, he is literally going to sit there and go, how did I screw this up
Right.
with all that talent?
I screwed up the offensive coordinator, and then these end of game, end of half moments that, one time might go against you, but it keeps going against him. His doing, he'll be rethinking it. He'll keep him up at night. How did I screw this up?
Because he's never getting another one.
We screw up a field goal. We screw up a Hail Mary. We screw up an end of the half 50-yard run. And I screwed up the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I watched the Hail Mary defense yesterday. Did you notice, Shay, with 6 seconds left, the exact same scenario, they did not have everybody back and give them a free 15 yards.
If I'm not mistaken, Jim
13 yards.
Harbaugh blitzed on a Hail Mary.
He did.
He blitzed. I think a lot of people, I think they know how to do it anyway, but I think a lot of people learned a lot from that failed Hail Mary, starting with don't rush 3. Now, the analytics said don't rush 3 anyway, or the history of it, the trends, but I think that reminded people.
I'm just so
if
tired
anything,
of
blitz between blitzing and rushing 3, you blitz.
I'm just so tired of cheering for losses.
I know. That's why I'm not ready to do it with 7 games
I
left.
just can't.
Let me
I'm
ask
just
you
so
this.
tired of it.
If the Bears somehow make the playoffs, right? To
Yeah.
say hypothetically,
Yeah.
we've seen worse things happen, of course. If they make the playoffs, do they keep the coach?
Oh, God.
I mean, the answer is probably going to be yes, because if they make the playoffs, you're talking about beating Detroit at least once, probably Green Bay once, Minnesota once. All of a sudden, the second half is going to look good. Yes, I think they would.
If they make the playoffs, they beat all of 3 of those teams at least once. They
Yeah.
probably beat San Francisco. They probably
Yeah.
beat Seattle. And if they go 6-1 and make the playoffs, again, I find it hard to believe that anybody's going to be sitting here going, well, we got to move on from flus.
No, of course not. Of course not. The tone will change, but that's pie in the sky thinking. They're not
Exactly.
They're not going.
That's
6-1.
Like if you told me they will win 1 game the rest of the season, and I get to pick which game it is,
Last game of the year against the Packers.
bingo. I would trade a loss on Sunday for a win at the end of the year against the Packers.
Not if that's the difference between the 4th pick in the draft and the 9th pick in the draft or something.
As long as you're in the top 10, I'm good.
Right.
I do think there's value because that could be a game where the Packers are playing to make the playoffs. I do think there's value in going up there and eliminating a division
All
opponent.
right, so this will be a great question when we get to that point. A loss gets you a really good draft pick. A win means you beat Green Bay, but you drop 5 or 6 spots. I think I'm taking the loss. It's not that big of a deal that I beat Green Bay. I want the better player in the draft.
I feel like there's remember when the Lions did it and the Lions didn't make the playoffs and they could have gone 8-9 and they'd be picking higher, but they went up there and they
beat
knocked
him on
them out.
Sunday Night Football.
And it kind of changed the vibe in this division a little bit, did it not?
It did.
I don't know. If they go 0-5 or 1-5 and then go beat Green Bay, it's changing the vibe? I don't think so.
No, and I'm not saying it's the same situation
But
because
as
the Lions
a fan, it would be cool to beat them.
and it would especially if you can eliminate them from the playoffs. I do think there's value in it.
You're potentially staring at a top 5 draft pick and let's beat Green Bay. That's your big thing? No. I want the top 5 draft pick, if that's what it is.
Are you telling me that the one win over Green Bay moves me down 5 spots?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's possible.
Then I'd probably take the top
It might
5
drop
pick
you 4 or
in the
5.
last game, but it'd be
Okay,
fun to
thank you.
beat their ass.
Of course, that'd be fun in a vacuum, but I want the highest draft pick when we're down to the final game of the season.
David's in Skokie. That's where I grew up. Hey, David, what's up, Sparky?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's
Good.
up, man?
Love your show. Just wanted to say, as I'm listening to you guys talk about this segment, I think you guys, you want them to. You're talking about guys who are doing their job, but I don't know that. I want to get your opinion. I don't know that they're actually going to do what you guys are talking about. I mean, how do you get somebody where this is their job and you want them to get on board with a quote unquote tank and get a better draft pick. I mean, these guys are passionate about what they're doing, so I don't know. I want to hear you guys' take on that.
Yeah, no, you never instruct your guys to tank. I mean, you just play. We're just talking as fans.
That never happens. You just put guys in particular situations where it's not as beneficial.
And I guess you could say there's a win-win involved, like we have these last few years. If you do win and play well, that's good. That's good.
I do remember.
But if you lose, you get the higher pick.
The Cubs were trying to tank.
Yeah.
And I went to lunch with Jed, and we were walking back, and there comes Theo and Jason McLeod. They look like they'd seen it. David, thanks. Seen a ghost. And I said, all right, I'll see you guys at the game tonight. They had a game, and Jed literally turned around and goes, who's pitching for us tonight? I go, Jason Birkin. He goes, who?
Right. You know, when it comes to tanking, like I had a lesson, speaking of the Cubs, back when they were tanking, you know, when it comes to the players and the manager, they're not trying to actively lose, as we're saying here. And I remember tweeting, some fan tweeted at me, well, they were all trying to lose anyway. And I tweeted back, well, if they were trying to lose, they would have played Cody Ransom. Remember Cody Ransom? I tweeted this. If they were actively trying to lose, they would have played Cody Ransom every day. Cody Ransom was like in Japan and tweeted back at me. And he's like, you didn't say that to my face when I was in the locker room. I'm like, okay.
Wait, say this again?
A fan said to me they were actively trying to lose. The players were actively, and the manager.
And you said.
And I said if they were actively trying to lose, they would have played Cody Ransom every day. And Cody Ransom tweeted back at me, you didn't say that to my face in the locker room. And it taught me a lesson. Like, he's right. If you can't say it to someone's face, you probably shouldn't tweet it. I remember that happened. It was my first Twitter lesson about, what you do can come back to haunt you.
Cody Ransom I wonder what he's doing now.
Yeah, I don't know, but he went to Japan eventually, I think, or somewhere overseas, and he tweeted at me.
Yeah,
he's
didn't say that to my years face. Old now.
Yeah, this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember when the Bears did it openly when they played the Vikings and they were kind of in the game in the finale? I think it was the 2022 season, and Nathan Peterman was keeping them in the games. They came out second half and put Tim Boyle in.
Wait, the Bears did?
Yeah.
To lose that game? For some reason, I don't remember that.
Final game, I think, of the 2022 season. They put Tim Boyle in the second half. They lost. And that was about as blatant as it gets.
Right. Yeah. So,
Crazy.
I mean, when it comes to that final game, I can understand why you would actually try. But right now, no.
Let's go to the phones. Cody Ransom's on the phone.